What's up, guys? Over here at MRE, the small garage, and today got something for the Boost Knuckle. I've been pretty pumped about this. I've been talking about this new build for some time now, and just kind of piece by piece putting this thing together. The motor and kind of piecing together some turbo parts and stuff. And I've purchased some stuff and probably going to change a few things that I've already purchased into something else. But the truck's currently got the Phytech EFI on it, and I knew that going further, moving forward with the truck from where it is, I knew that the Phytech was probably going to be at its limit, kind of where it is. It's pretty entry level, and there's a lot of limitations with the Phytech. So I decided, I was pretty certain that I wasn't going to buy anything as far as EFI goes for the truck until probably next year. But I planned on starting on getting the new motor and stuff put in the truck this year, and we've got Streetcar Takeover coming up this weekend, so that's going to be a pretty big deal. I'll end up having the truck there, so that'll be pretty cool. But I think after Streetcar Takeover, I think I may go ahead and start trying to get the new build underway. I've kind of kicked it around a little bit here and there, and I think I wanted to do a little bit of racing with it, and we've actually got an import face-off event the following day after Streetcar Takeover. Streetcar Takeover is the 6th, Saturday, and then IFO is actually April 7th, the Sunday, which is also my birthday, so that's kind of cool. The Civic won't be ready for it. We haven't got the car tuned yet, so that's kind of still on hold. Trying to work out all that stuff, and like I said, we're trying to do the finishing lines car and the Civic at the same time, so we're just trying to make it as cost effective as we can, with getting the tuner here and getting some dyno sessions organized and put together. So anyways, so like I said, I've been kicking around the idea of when I was going to start doing the new setup and stuff in the truck. Like I said, I wanted to try and get a couple races in just to see what the blower setup would do in the truck, so I may try and take the truck to IFO, maybe make a couple passes, see how the truck does. My goal with it originally was just to have a cool little driver, something that made a little bit of power, made a lot of noise, is more or less all I wanted, just so I could pull into car shows and just, rattle people's brains, all over the place. But ended up going in, a little overboard with it like I do with most things, and it's kind of progressed into a kind of a street strip truck, and I still daily drive this thing on occasion. And when spring comes, like right now, as soon as the weather hits about 50-60 degrees, I drive that thing all the time. But this year I don't think it's going to be the case. So anyways, I'm going to show you, I ended up picking up something today. Kind of been working through some stuff with Eric Radson over at the Fuel House here in Kansas City. He's actually part of Pro Charger as well. Super nice guy. He's been, like I said, he's been a big help. We kind of crossed paths at like a car show or something, I think, and we got to talking about the Boost Knuckle, and he's been pretty adamant about wanting to help with the truck and stuff, and he's helped out a lot, and we at one point were leaning towards doing a Pro Charger, and who knows, we may end up going that route someday. But for right now, we're going to do this budget turbo build with it and see where that goes. But anyways, I went and met up with Eric today. He went out of his way to help me out with a piece for the truck, and we're going to show you guys what that is. The new Holley TerminatorX. This is the LS2 LS3 kit for 58 tooth reluctor and the 4X the 4X cam gear. But as soon as I saw this kit come out, I knew this is what I wanted. I was planning on buying like an HP kit, and that was why I was gonna hold off and wait until next year to get something going with it. Because the price was a little more than, you know, I could swing at this point. But the TerminatorX came out, and the price point was, you just couldn't beat it. I mean, I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how they're putting these things out. Part of me feels like, you know, once some of these other, you know, fly-by-night companies trying to build EFI kits, once they realize that Holley kits are, you know, better, more advanced, and just, I mean, Holley's been doing this, and they've pretty well perfected this. So, in my opinion, from what I've seen, the Holley stuff has pretty well been perfected within like the last 4 or 5 years, and they've nailed it. But I went ahead, and the girlfriend went ahead and told me, pull the trigger on it. She said, happy birthday, let's get it coming. I called Eric, and I was like, hey, you know, he had told me he was a dealer. I had made a post on Facebook. He said, you know, hit me up. So I hit him up, and, you know, he's like, let's get it taken care of. So he ordered me one up. Like I said, super, super nice guy. He went above and beyond to try and help me get this kit and help me out with it. And I'm super thankful for that. So Eric, thank you. Fieldhouse, thank you. Pro Charger, you're all awesome. So anyways, let's show you what this kit's got. Terminator Max instruction manual. Looks like they've got all the installation stuff and like setup, you know, all the setup things for, you know, what the loose wires stand for. You know, a lot of this stuff I won't use because there's transmission control stuff in here. Basically everything's labeled. They show you kind of how everything's labeled. But I mean, I really don't know how they do it. You get online and you try and buy a swap harness for an LS motor, and you'll spend $600-700 on a harness. I mean, this kit, the TerminatorX, you know, not the Max, but the basic TerminatorX without transmission control, this thing's $999. Like, it blows my mind. I don't get it. I don't know how they do it, you know. I feel like they got to be losing money, you know, but sometimes you got to spend money to make money, and maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. Here's their little 3.5-inch handheld. Looks really nice quality. You know, like it seems to be pretty close to all the other, you know, like their sniper kits and all that stuff that have the handheld. It all seems to be pretty much the same handheld. You know, I think this one actually differs from the sense that it has the USB or micro USB card in it, you know, that stores all your data logs and your tunes and stuff in it. You know, and I think this is like what they call a CAN bus. I know Sloppy Mechanics has made some kind of adapter so you could actually plug this and like a 7-inch dash or, you know, something into it, or vice versa. I think it was like this and the laptop, or the 7-inch dash and the laptop, or whatever the case may be. So that'll be really neat to see if that becomes available, because I know, you know, sometimes I want to hook the laptop up. It'd be really cool off, you know, some of the Honda stuff that we've done. They actually have Bluetooth, you know, so you can hook the laptop via Bluetooth, which is pretty cool. I don't know if that's something they're going to work into this later on. It'd be pretty neat. That way you don't have to use a cord or anything like that. But yeah, so hopefully we'll end up moving up to like a 7-inch dash with this thing, because I believe it's all the same connectors. The TerminatorX box. I mean, this ECU, this thing is so small. I don't even know if I've got a small notepad here. I mean, this thing is just twice the size of a notepad. I mean, this thing is tiny, and for what this thing does, I mean, it's crazy how much they can get out of this little computer, you know, as far as functions and what it controls and stuff. I mean, it's crazy. Like I said, Holley's got this on lock. They've nailed this market for, you know, standalone EFI stuff. They just killed it. I believe this is the main power. Yeah, that's the main power connector and harness. That's basically what you feed your power and ground directly to the unit. You go directly to the battery with that. You know, it's pretty self-explanatory. Let's dig in here. trying to skip through to the little stuff here. You know, it comes with. I actually did already plug this in because I did kind of nerd out and open it up, and Eric did as well. Eric nerded out on it, and did the same thing. But yeah, so this uses the Bosch 4.9 LSU wideband. You know, they give you this little sub harness here. Because obviously the harness itself can be used, from what I understand, on like the HPs and the Dominators. All the kits, the harnesses are the same because it's for the same, basic swap. Connectors and stuff are the same, but the ECU itself is not compatible with any O2 sensor except for the 4.9. So they send you this little sub harness to connect it to it, and that's like an NTK sensor connector, which is what the harness, like I said, it's kind of universal. And the HPs and stuff, they use the NTK style sensor, and not this 4.9. So it's kind of cool because this is pretty cheap. This is the same sensor I use on all my Honda stuff, the 4.9. We've used, I believe, with the like Innovate widebands and all that stuff. So I'm pretty familiar with this sensor, and I've had pretty good luck with it. And they're cheap, compared to the NTK sensor. You'll spend $250, probably $300 on an NTK sensor, like a genuine NTK sensor. And you can go to O'Reilly's and buy these Bosch sensors for like $40. So I mean, that's kind of the way to go anyways. So what else we got here? Here we've got their injector sub harness. They make everything kind of terminated. It's like if you wanted to pull the intake off of it and you didn't want to unconnect all your injector clips, sometimes these clips will break and people get rough with them, and they've got locks and stuff on them, and they end up breaking the locks. So this way, if you need to pull the intake off, I mean, you got one bulkhead connector. You just disconnect that, pull the intake off of it, some fuel lines, and the intake's off of it, and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about trying to run the wiring all over the place, and this definitely makes things a lot easier for sure. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I believe the kit that I bought, like I said, was for the 58 tooth and the 4X cam gear. I believe this was for the EV6 connectors for the injectors as well. So, which I would imagine more likely if you changed injectors or anything like that, you could probably call Holley and get a different sub harness for your injectors. If you had connector issues, or you could buy the pigtails, however you wanted to do it. This, I believe, is your input-output connector with all, everything's color-coded. I'm sure it's probably in the diagram how everything's pinned out, in the installation catalog thing to, whatever, the book instructions. But yeah, so I mean, this kind of makes light work of everything because they've got that connector on the harness that's set up for your inputs and outputs, and you can wire it up and set it up however you want. So that makes life a lot easier. And now we get down to the jam here. Oh, and then they actually send you with an O2 bung, so that's cool. And then a couple little we got noises going on behind me, and a couple little nipples here for the map sensor on the unit here. You can see they got this little deal, and it's basically got these little nipples for different sizes. I don't know if you can see this. Let me open this up, show you, which is pretty neat because it's got the built-in map for like a 1 bar, something naturally aspirated, but they come with these little screw-on nipples for depending on what kind of vacuum size or vacuum hose size you want to run. And you need a bigger one. Then they got another one in here. I don't know what these sizes are. Small and not so small. Yeah, and depending on what size vacuum line you need to run for your map sensor, if you use the 1 bar, then they give you a couple different options. So that's kind of cool. That makes it easy. Oh, dang, there's even a third one in here. I'm so blind. Granted, I've got my glasses on for this reason. But, yeah, and then they got this even bigger one. That's like 3/8 vacuum line. I don't know why you need that much vacuum line, but whatever. That big of a vacuum line. So, anyways, there's that. Let me not lose these. I won't be using that because I plan on putting like a 3-bar on this, but oh, and then there's the stylus to looks like some double-sided tape things to put the, I don't know what for. Oh, I think that goes inside the there's like these little 3M fuzzy double-sided things. I think they go into the I think I've seen people put them inside here. Oh, never mind, there's already some inside there, little felt pieces to keep it from rattling around. So I don't know what those are for at this point, but yeah, and then the stylus, you know, for all the touchscreen stuff on your handheld, so that's neat. Let me throw this in here, and then I want to open up this harness because I haven't looked at this yet, so I'm really curious to like check out the connectors and see what that's all about, and whatnot. Let me throw this in here real quick, and we'll get back to this. Open this up. All right. So now I'm going to open this up and see what kind of situation we got here. I'm probably going to regret this because it's more than likely never going to make its way back into the box and fit and the lid close, because it never happens that way. I'll probably never be able to roll this up correctly. I like the split loom. Pretty nice. I would myself, I will probably go back through. There's a couple spots, you know, where the loom kind of opens up because it's pretty thick, and that split loom kind of doesn't really hold its tension very well. So more likely I'll probably go through and maybe even put like some small zip ties on it, just kind of hold it in place, you know, keep it from opening up and keep the elements out of the loom as much as I can. But other than that, like it's perfect. Your main ECU connectors here, connector A and B, it looks like. And then here you've got your, more than likely it's probably just like a main relay for some like main power sources. Here you've got a little fuse, yeah, a little 30 amp fuse case. Who knows what that's for? It just says fuse. Your CAN connection here. Most of this will be inside the cab. So then you'll have your CAN connection for your handheld or dash, however you set it up. I mean, they did a really nice job. Everything's, you know, like weather connectors and stuff, so you shouldn't have to worry about, you know, water contamination or anything like that. You know, all these relays are super nice and sealed. They do such a good job, and like I said, it blows my mind how they can make any money on this. It's just crazy. Let me try and maneuver this around. Like I said, most of this probably section here will all be inside the truck or car or whatever you're using it on. So you'll have a grommet probably somewhere up in here, and then out here you've got your output connector, and it's already at the opposing side here attached to it, which is kind of neat. So pretty much all you got to do is, from what it looks like, and I could be wrong, let me open this up without breaking it. Maybe. There's a good I break these things so often. It's like I said, you know, with that fuel connector sub harness, you know, it's nice that I'm not going to mess with that. I'm probably going to end up breaking it. I'll probably wait until I'm going to put it in the truck and then break it. That's what I should do. But yeah, like with that sub harness for the fuel injectors, you know, it's just super easy to have one big connector that you can disconnect, so you don't have to disconnect a bunch of little individual ones on the injectors, and then you take a chance of breaking them. But yeah, so that's your inputs, outputs. That's where your other one will go, and they're all color coded, so they'll match that that one little sub harness there. And then this one was pretty cool. This is where their power tap, as they call it. You know, it's got like your 12 volt, 5 volt reference, ground, and then I think like a frequency wire. So if you do like E85 content sensor and stuff, all right, let's try this again. I don't know how well this view is. I probably just shot this whole video and you probably can't see anything. And then my battery just died, so I had to run and find my charger. But yeah, I think I was talking about the power block, or power tap as they call it. Like I said, it's got the 5 volt, 12 volt reference wires for your like inputs, outputs. If you need that for those, you can basically splice into that and, you know, tee off and go to all your extra sensors and such. You know, like I plan on adding a couple extra things to it, so that'll be neat. I'm not a wiring whiz. I suck at wiring about half as much as I suck at welding, like half maybe. But wiring's probably my biggest weakness, and tuning, hence the Holley kit, which is why I went with like a self-tuning kit, something that will learn, and I know just enough to be dangerous. That's about it. You know, if I know what the car is doing on the track, I know just enough to you know, add timing, pull some fuel, you know, take some timing out of it, whatever. I learned a lot of that basic stuff just from messing with the Hondas, and now getting into more of a race setup. You know, I grew up with muscle cars and drag racing and all that stuff, but everything we had was carbureted. You know, you change some jets and you throw one of them double pumpers with them 3/4 race cams and you were good to go. You know, open headers, race car, biggest slick you could fit. I think even to this day, my dad still cannot wrap his head around how fast some of these like radial tire cars are. I don't think he understands it. I think he thinks it's some kind of witchcraft or some kind of wizardry going on. But you know, it's like 33-inch slicks. It's the biggest thing you can get. You might as well be in a straight axle dragster. You know, America. But anyway, so I'm just now getting into learning EFI boost setups in, you know, the V8 world. So all these guys messing with bump boxes and all that stuff, I don't understand any of that yet. I'm going to get to it at some point. So I kind of like to learn everything. So that's what I'm doing, learning. But anyways, here's some miscellaneous power supply stuff. If I had to guess, I would say one of these is probably just like a constant 12 volt, you know, to keep, you know, power memory to some, you know, to the ECU. I would more than likely bet one of these is probably a fuel pump. I don't read directions very well, so I'm just kind of going off of kind of how I would believe this would be set up based on other setups. The Phytech kit that I got on the truck was, you know, as far as how the harness was laid out, was all kind of similar. You know, these basic swap harnesses, they're all kind of generic as far as how they get them to run off 2 or 3 wires. And then the other one is probably like a fan wire, probably. I probably should have read the instructions before I started this, and I could have gave you a lot better description on this, so bear with me. And here you've got, that's your injector bulkhead there, and that's where your sub harness for the injectors will plug into and go off to the intake. So that's all super nice, and everything's all labeled, like I said. And a lot of the connectors, you know, are all color coded too, so you can't mess that up. Let's go a little bit further here. Oil pressure, you know, this is going to be on the top of your valley tray there, or valley cover, or intake rail, back of the motor, right at the bell housing-ish side of the motor there. So that's cool. That's one thing my Phytech kit does not do, and that drove me nuts, was the fact that it didn't monitor oil pressure. Makes no sense at all why that would not be a part of an EFI system. I have no idea. But it doesn't, so, you know, I've got a mechanical gauge in the truck, so, I mean, I can see oil pressure based on that, but it would be really nice if you could pull data log and monitor oil pressure and set up safety features based on, you know, oil pressure parameters. So that will be awesome. And this big section here looks like a ground, connect ground 2-cylinder head only. they literally dumb this down so much for people like me, where I'm practically semi retarded. Ignition odd. That's cool. So they set this up. That's one thing the Phytech system doesn't do. They don't tell you left or right or odd or even. The Holley kit here actually tells you ignition even. So this will be your even banks, 2, 4, 6, and 8. And then this one will be your odd bank with 1, 3, 5, and 7. So that's super cool. And then this one, what is that? Map. Yeah, so your even side has the map connector on it, which is cool. This is all super cool. You've heard me say that a million times. Wideband O2. I like how they coat that with like some heat shrink and all that, because since that runs by exhaust and stuff, they don't want them melting. I like that. And the same thing with this, your starter wires, well, crank sensor, and then your knock sensor wires. Like I said, this is for like your 4th gen block that's going to have the knock sensors on the side of it rather than the top of it like a 3rd gen. So you can tell they put like heat wrap on it to keep the heat down, since this basically runs down and underneath between the cylinder head and the block. So they try and keep the heat down off that, so that's nice the way they do that. And then your crank sensor is down there by your starter as well. Lots of heat. That's your O2. Blah, blah, blah. There was another ground connector eyelet for the opposing cylinder head. And then out here on this little extension of harness, you got all your normal stuff, which I'm so glad they did this. I don't know if this is a normal GM thing, but another thing my Phytech did not do was fuel pressure. So this is going to be super rad. And from the looks of it, it's got just that 3-pin basic, like you order like a cheap eBay pressure transducer. 95% of them are probably going to be this connector. I know all the ones on my Civic are this way, so I mean, you can buy those transducers and just plug it in, you're done. Obviously you'll have to set it up in the software, but it'll get you by. Manifold air temp, normal GM stuff. Here you've got TPS, cam sensor, IAC for those of us that still run IACs, and coolant temp sensor. I mean, it's just so basic but so awesome. They've done such a great job with this thing. It just blows my mind. I'm still kind of like trying to wrap my head around like the cost of this thing and how they do it. I mean, they probably got $900 of the loom on this thing. I mean, it'd take me $900 worth of labor time to just lay this out and be like, what size flipping wire loom do I need for this harness? I mean, I just don't get it. They're that good. I mean, they've got this down to an art. Thank you, Holley. You're awesome. I don't know what more to say. I'm super pumped to put this on the truck, the new setup. The motor's hidden behind me. You can't really see it. But I cannot wait to put this on the truck and start doing some tuning. I did realize I missed some wires here. I have no idea what those go to, but I will find out eventually when it gets down to putting this in the truck. But yeah, so I mean, pretty much that's it. They make this as simple as possible for guys like me. So I can't thank Holley enough for bringing something to the table, to help your normal grassroots budget guys, with these junkyard 5.3s and, wanting a standalone system that can do a bunch of the stuff they want and not, be held back by a stock computer or some fly-by-night, EFI system. This kit, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't sell more of this kit in a year's time than they probably do their Dominator and their HP system. Like, I would love to see stats on that, come the year's end, and see how many of these kits they sell, because they're gonna crush some of these EFI systems. It's just, I feel sorry for those guys, but I feel super good for myself, because this is gonna be awesome. But anyways, guys, that was just kind of a rundown of, you know, something we got for the truck. This was kind of a big purchase. I thought it was going to be a much larger purchase. I thought it was going to be, you know, a pretty big setback for me to be able to afford a Holley EFI kit that I wanted for the truck, that I knew would do what I needed it to do. And, you know, buying this kit will probably end up being like the best thing I could have bought for the truck. It's going to be cool. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Sorry if it was long and boring. I know there's a lot of other videos like this on YouTube currently, because people are posting about this thing like crazy. The TerminatorX is spreading like wildfire throughout the LS. I won't say LSX. People get weird when you say that. The LS swap world. But yeah, like I said, keep following along. We're going to hopefully end up, you know, getting to install this along with some other stuff, the new motor setup and all that stuff in the truck here in the near, hopefully next month or so. I've been kind of slacking on my videos. I'm actually only doing like one a week, you know, between work and weather and life and stuff. It gets kind of hard to continually carry a camera around with me and constantly video you know, all the dumb stuff I do on a daily basis, and sometimes I feel like people don't want to watch that stuff. But anyways, don't forget, comment, like, subscribe, keep following us on Instagram, you know, drop some comments. I mean, feel free to private message me or something if you want to just talk cars. I don't care, whatever, just, you know, hit me up, let me know. We'll see you guys later.